Hello, Hardin Baptist Church. Welcome to another Tuesday talk. This morning we're going to be talking about the spiritual discipline of fasting. And what exactly is fasting? Fasting is a time when you do not eat and you spend that time praying and spending time with God and His Word while you'd normally be eating. And then as the day goes on, when you're having those hunger pains, you pray and call out to God for specific prayer requests or just calling out to Him, asking Him to move and giving thanks for who He is. As we think through fasting, I'm reminded of the beginning of Luke when Jesus, the Messiah, is being born and coming on the scene, and we read about Anna. Luke chapter 2, verse 36. And there was a prophetess, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was advanced in years, having lived with her husband 7 years from when she was a virgin. And then as a widow until she was 84, she did not part from the temple, worshiping with fasting and prayer at night and day. And coming up that very hour, she began to give thanks to God, to speak of Him to all who are waiting for the redemption of Jerusalem. I love that she's able to experience the coming Messiah. And one of the things we learn as she's experienced this lady has been praying and fasting. This is a reminder that no matter what's going on in our world, we continue to pray and fast, believing what God has done, what God will do. You know, I think some of the benefits of there's many benefits of fasting. I think I think through the years of ministry, and I think of counseling young men, one of the ways they've been really to overcome sin is by fasting. This reminds me of Jesus in the wilderness. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and Satan tempted him. But yet, through his reliance on the Lord, through praying to God and calling out to God and quoting Scripture, he's able to overcome the enemy in that time period, in that period of fasting and praying. I think of just seeing God move. As we talk about the coming Messiah in Luke chapter 2, I'm reminded also of a time where Brandy and I just started fasting and praying for our children. And when we started doing this monthly fast for salvation of all four of our children, and within a few months, we were able to see our oldest come to Christ. I'm not saying that's the particular reason why Graham came to Christ. That's the Lord moving upon his heart. But I do think that was helpful for us calling out to God for Him to save our children. Another thing I think we can hear the benefit of fasting is you are able to hear from God. There's actually research that if you fast for a few days, your mind actually gets more clear. I believe this is not coincidence, that God really genuinely wants to speak to us, and we fast and call out to Him. We put our souls, we put our hearts, we put our minds truly in a place to hear from Him in a unique way. Another thing is, another benefit is from fasting is you find your comfort from God. I'm reminded of 2 Corinthians chapter 1. The key word there in the first 8 or 9 verses is comfort. It's used again and again and again. And what Paul is communicating is that through what he has gone through, he is not finding comfort in the world, but finding comfort and rest in God. And that's what fasting does. You truly see how great God is, how wonderful it is to worship Him and to find your rest in Him and Him alone on that. Now, where do you begin? You might not be fasting like 40 days with Jesus, but fasting a meal here, a meal there, or fasting for 24 hours is a great way to start. Something I try to do, I try to have at least one fast a month where I take 24 hours and pray and call out to God just to be in the discipline of doing it. And it's been so good and so fruitful for me to be able to spend extra time praying and calling out to God. And as we think through fasting, I'm reminded of what God has done in our church and encouraged what God will continue to do. And I think the foundation for our ministries and for our church definitely starts with us calling out to God, praying, and then going the extra mile and fasting to really spend even more time with Him, to ask Him to move and give thanks for what He's done. Hardin Baptist, thanks again for another Tuesday talk, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.